murder, kidnapping, abuse. 3 of the most heinous crimes committable by man. You wouldn't normally picture the perpetrator of these acts as a matronly old woman with a welcoming smile. However, in the instance of Georgia Tann, this is just the case. Throughout her 20-year career, she managed to steal and traffic over 5,000 infants and young children. To understand the motives behind these dark deeds, you must first gaze into her scarring past. Beulah George Tann, aka George Tann, was born in Philadelphia, Mississippi on July 18, 1891. Her mother was Beulah Isabella Tann, and her father was George Clark Tann. George was a very controlling father figure who often discouraged or prohibited any interest that he found not traditionally feminine. For example, he forced her to learn and practice the piano despite her hate of the instrument. When she began displaying a passion for law, her father instantly shut her down and forced her to study music instead. She always wanted to defy her father and prove him wrong. However, in 1913, she graduated Washington College with a degree in music. Using this degree, she briefly taught in a school in Columbus, Mississippi, before quitting because she found the job very trying and she lacked patience. From there, she transitioned her occupation to social work. Although this seemed like a positive turning point for Tann, this work soon served as nothing more than a gateway into a sinister scheme of profit and deceit. In the 1920s, adoption rates were at an unprecedented all-time high. Seeing this trend, Tann knew that she could take full advantage of the situation if she played her cards right. Although her early attempts failed, she was caught wrongfully removing children from poor houses with unjust cause. For this, she was fired from her job at the Mississippi Children's Home Society, but this didn't do much to hinder her progress. Thanks to her underground network of judges, doctors, social workers, and police officers, she was soon able to secure a position at the Memphis branch of the Tennessee Children's Home Society. There, she perfected her abduction techniques. She would often lure kids under false promises of everything from free candy to card rides. She would trick parents into believing that they were sending their children to receive medical care that they otherwise could not afford. She would even go to as far as faking infants' deaths moments after their birth. Once the children were in her care, they were met with harsh living conditions. They were often kept in cramped, unsanitary rooms, and they lacked all medical care. Infections were not uncommon, and many children died. They were buried in unmarked graves in the middle of the night to avoid suspicion. Those that survived were given little food, they were beaten, and in some cases sexually abused. Eventually, a family would come along and adopt the children, and they were all too oblivious to their current living conditions and their origins. This may have gone on for many more years, until Governor Gordon Browning brought it to an end. Tann's connections and laws never failed her, until 1950, Gordon Browning held a press conference in which he revealed incriminating evidence on Tann. Although she was never held responsible for her deeds, 3 days after the press conference, she died from a coma induced by untreated urine cancer. Although her legacy had died, the scars remained in the bodies and minds of her victims and their parents. In conclusion, Georgia Tann left behind nothing more than a legacy as the infamous baby stealer. Although she amassed a great fortune, it never brought her anything other than her reputation.